And we are live here in the studio. This is Business Lead Brevard edition, and I am your host, Jesse Hall. And today in the studio, we are talking about all things Melbourne. Who better do it with that than the mayor of Melbourne here in the studio, Paul Alfrey. Paul, so good to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Jesse.
Welcome back. I don't think you were in campaigning the last time you were in the studio.
I don't recall. That thing goes so quick.
Exactly. Well, formally, congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
As your campaign won overall, I think there was like 3 or 4 competitors.
Yeah, 4.
And I think you had, just a strong campaign.
Oh yeah, we did very well. A campaign did very well. Had a great campaign team, a lot of supporters. It went very well, and I'm very thank you to everybody that supported me. But it's going to hopefully be a good, productive 4 years.
Well, I would assume because, let's put it this way: even when you were on the council, because you served as a council member for a couple terms, correct?
Well, for 4 years, that and the vice mayor the last year, yes.
Exactly. For people who don't know you, just briefly a little bit about you. Born and raised here in town, correct?
Yeah, I was born in Lexington, Kentucky. I don't remember
is that right?
that. Yeah,
okay.
I think maybe when I was 2 weeks old, my some of the family was down here. My dad had gotten out of Vietnam, and they were from Kentucky, and they were moving down here. So I don't even really remember that.
Right.
But yeah, I grew up here. I graduated Old Gallia High School. Went to Brevard Community College, and I was Eastern Florida before I went off and served in the U.S. Coast Guard. So then come back and worked for the Melbourne Police Department and did my time there and enjoyed the career. But also started my brothers and I started a small business about 20 years ago, and we're still in business. And I have several businesses, so. Local, and that's where it's at. I really enjoy being in Melbourne. I love Melbourne. This is my hometown.
Exactly. Tell those who maybe didn't vote or maybe didn't learn about your campaign or maybe they voted for somebody else. Why you for mayor? I mean, if you were able to say, well, I'm glad I was able to get this seat because I want to do so much with the city. Like, what were you campaigning on? If people aren't familiar.
I think first off, everybody thinks they're the better candidate, of course. But I think with my experience, my background in public safety, owning a business, growing up here, and also I'm not afraid of challenges. And a lot of people get in office and they make all these promises. And they get in office and they kind of feel that if I stay under the radar, I won't cause any waves. Well, it's kind of why I got in the office. I wanted a better beat, so I want bigger waves. So you get out there and I want to be known. I'm not doing this for a career. Believe me, I'd rather be fishing or at the beach or somewhere. But I want to at least be known as a person to get things done and. Really what goes on in politics, everybody's raving about, politically, federally, how's it going? That really, to me, has no bearing to me because it's all about right here. People don't understand local politics. I mean, that's everything from your garbage being picked up to your taxes, roadways, annexation, everything. I mean, you flush a commode, you turn on the faucet, you expect it to work, and you want a clean lagoon. All that comes to local politics. And, if you focus just on federal politics, you're really missing the boat.
Exactly. We're so thrilled to have you in office because I remember last time we had you on, you weren't in the mayor capacity. You had just started talking about campaigning and so forth. So, yeah, full circle. I mean, now here you are in the same seat, but with a different title. Yeah. And, it's super exciting because even as just someone who was on the city council helping out some of the bigger projects, and I like how you mentioned last time that you're kind of like a facilitator, having been a small businessman, being someone who's been local for a long time. You know a lot of people, you have a wealth of connections, and your network seems to just keep on growing and become more and more prosperous. A lot of people doing exciting things here on the Space Coast. Right. So what you think is something that's going to be part of your legacy as you move on? Because like you brought in, like I was referring to, the dog parks. You brought those before you became mayor, and now you have another one that's going to be breaking ground, right?
Yes, We're going to be partnering again with the Space Coast Association of Realtors. Mr. Mark and Tatiana Pilak, they've been amazing.
Yes.
They're really been the financial backing, and without them, I don't know if we could even do what we're doing. But we have the Brevard Zoo hopping in on this one, and
fun.
So it's a little bit outside of the city of Melbourne, but since we really I think did a great job on the first two, and the realtors were huge. If it not only the funding but the personnel getting out there, and because they're community builds.
Sure.
I think this one's going to even be probably even better in Viera. You only get better, you learn,
of course.
But it's outside the city a little bit. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Whether you live in Melbourne, West Melbourne, it's all relative because we visit. I go to the West Melbourne parks or the Palm Bay parks or wherever.
Right.
So it's going to be an exciting project, and it's going to be they're asking for. They asked us to build it, and we're on board.
When does that groundbreaking happen?
We're not sure.
Okay.
Probably, and the reason I say we're not sure right now, it may be March, April.
Okay, so right around the corner. Okay.
Yes, we're trying to figure out like getting some of the supplies, some of the some of the park amenity suppliers are 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out.
Right.
But we're already starting to pre-order a lot of stuff. We're getting ready to go into the design phase and permitting phase, and working with the the Viera. Community development district, the board members there, we're still on the same page, but we're definitely a go. But the community build may not happen till May. We're not sure yet.
Roger. Then, and again, I don't want to harp on that, but I just think it's very cool because some people may think, well, Jesse, you're not going to really talk about dog parks. But the cool thing about it is that maybe people don't understand is that it is a very private enterprise too. You're reaching out to private contractors, and the Pilak family with contributing and so forth. So you're making it less of like this is a city project and more of just this is a community project.
Yeah, and it's not even really a city project. Besides the location,
right?
The funding is all private, so it's not really out of tax dollars. It's really getting the community together,
right? And
through partnerships getting it done. But that's just I would say another dog park, and it's going to be another nice dog park. So.
Yeah.
The residents of Viera are really into it, and we'll see how this one goes.
Well, we're excited about it. How about this? And again, we're really just having a casual conversation, as we always do here on Business Elite Brevard Edition. We don't really come in scripted. We never really even explain pre-show. Right. What's going to really happen. So we just have a casual conversation. We really hope you guys are enjoying it. But let's get into some of the bigger things. As you take office, the High Line has now gotten some residents. I don't think they're at full capacity, but they're a new project in downtown.
I think they're about 50%.
About 50%. Yeah. So that's exciting. And then we have the new hotel, which is about to, aren't they planning a grand opening or ribbon cutting soon? The Melby.
Yeah, I think probably within the next month they'll be ready to open.
Okay. Well, we got to be there together. I definitely want to cover that, get some good photos and stuff like that. So that's 140-something odd rooms?
I believe so.
Yeah. And that's what they consider like a boutique under a certain amount.
Yes.
So we have our own little boutique hotel about to happen. And then, of course, some of the neighboring businesses, they've been remodeling. I think Meg's has been under, quite, it's got like quite the secret thing going on. It's got a little motif because for the longest time it's had these hurricane shutters on. And it's like, well, what's going behind, what's going on behind closed doors? So everybody wants to know. Everybody's, excited about that. But some of those restaurants in that area on that corner had to sacrifice their own parking, especially Meg's, who is known to use that lot for parties and so forth and bring a stage in. But they were able to come in and, again, offer some parking. So when people are like, well, now you took, parking away. Well, no, actually, we increased parking, So now there's going to be several public spaces allotted in that parking garage from Hotel Melby, which is very exciting. And there was another boutique hotel being talked about, maybe going across Hell and Blazes in downtown. Haven't heard much about that. Have you?
No, that's still in a
infancy.
Yeah,
probably.
Infancy, and that would still have to go through the city and go through some of the planning and zoning boards and such.
Exactly.
So there's so many projects coming ahead. It's like that's kind of if it happens, right. That's kind of on the back burner.
What would you say is the department at the city that's really kind of being a little more stressed?
Permitting department.
Permitting.
Oh yeah.
So let's get into that because
we
learned a little earlier that you're having like don't want to say emergency meetings here on the podcast, but you're having some heavy conversations to do with the permitting in general. Can you explain what's going on there?
Well, yeah. A couple years ago when I got on council, let me back up a little bit.
Sure.
First off, having a small business in the construction industry, I've been doing permitting for many, many years, so 2 decades. So everything was by paper. You go, you sit, you wait, and you wait for your permit and stuff. So, over the years, a lot of the municipalities, the county, Satellite Beach and such, they've gone to online permitting, felt it was time for Melbourne. So we've gone to online permitting it's probably been now, we've been up and running about, 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
But we went from zero to hero real quick. The whole, concept would be that you upload the plans. You don't have to put 80 pieces of paper on the wall. The plans, the inspector or whoever goes out, it's on their iPad. You look at it and everything's right there. Well, there's been so much with the growing pains. I mean, a lot of the old system doesn't go with the new system, and the fire. Everybody's using the same system now, and it's such a big system that one of the issues that we're having is when, for example, you would upload a revision, it wasn't notifying the plans examiners that revision was there. So you're a contractor. I got to add something. You add it, and it sits for weeks and weeks when it was supposed to immediately notify, and that wasn't. That's still not happening.
Okay.
So I think it's more software issues, and to me, we got to get these worked out.
Right.
Because I expect a level of service from the City of Melbourne, and I want to run it like business. Either you.
Oh yeah.
And you kind of have to, especially during the COVID. Everybody, it's time is money, and it's there. People are waiting. Now there's a disrupt in the supply chains throughout the nation. So, we don't want to be the hindrance to development. We want to be the partner. And so there's some things that I expect to see, and I'm having a meeting with my city manager today. I expect to see happen, and hopefully I can achieve what I want to.
Perfect. Well, one of the other big topics of discussion, as always from the mayor's office, is the airport.
Yes.
The airport is so exciting because we're getting some, we're getting daily flights to Philly. I think we opened that last fall spring. And now we're looking to have a weekly or daily direct from Heathrow right to.
Oh wow! Yeah, we can go into that.
England,
and I serve on the airport, Orlando Melbourne Airport Board, Authority Board. And our last meeting, it's pretty exciting because right now we're doing a lot of the infrastructure upgrades to the airport.
Oh, fun!
But there's several big businesses coming in. We're looking to build the supersonic jets throughout the world here.
Yes.
And some of that's amazing. If you look at, they're trying to be carbon neutral, be quiet, a supersonic jet quiet because the way it blows it up.
Right.
But they're looking at doing a $300 million investment here with their campus.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
Like 200 acres? No, 20 acres? How many?
The acreage is. I gotta look. It's up there.
Yeah,
it's up there.
It seems like it's like when you say campus, it's it's almost as big as the terminals.
Yeah, it's pretty big, and they're actually broke ground already. So that's coming in, and that's going to be worldwide. There's going to be about 650 high-paying jobs coming out of there. A lot of engineering jobs, good jobs there. That we're breaking ground on that, and then we also look at, as of next year, having TUI, from the Britain and in that area, they're talking about at least daily flights.
Daily, direct. That's exciting.
Direct, and that's going to be pretty huge. So we're looking at probably, I think it's 130,000 visitors a year. And they're going to be coming over for a week or 10 days. But, they'll be staying in, hopefully in the Melbourne area for a couple nights before they go off on their cruises or over to Orlando.
Right.
So that's going to be pretty big there. And so we're looking forward to some of the big things coming down the pike.
Well, they got to bookend their trip, right? They got to fly into here. They might as well go enjoy a beach, or something else. I mean, especially if you're headed towards Port Canaveral, you pass by all the beaches on the way,
Yeah.
And so yeah, and that goes to show that, I'm not sure if we have enough hotel rooms. I mean, you got the Rialto, you have the new Melby. What do you think we are as far as the ratio of like the potential visitors and people coming in for jobs, and how we are like infrastructure wise? Do we have the roads? Do we have everything we need to grow?
There's always a challenge on infrastructure,
right.
I don't think that conversation will ever end,
right.
Because there's more to than just roads. I mean, there's drainage, and you're building it on a foundation that from the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, a lot of people can attest that their homes have cast iron piping, and that's got to be changed. So there's always infrastructure. Part of that, it's a multiple plan when you talk about the baffle boxes in the city, because anything you see in the roads, you look around the roads and there's garbage and stuff that ends up into the
lagoon.
The lagoon. Yeah. So the city, we're probably one of the leaders in the county on the baffle boxes, but I had the other day put out a social media post because as I'm driving around the city, I'm not very happy with some of the garbage. So I've got some of that being taken care of. I have part of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. They're going to be bringing some of the the inmates out, the jail inmates.
I heard that recently.
Yeah, I want to thank the Sheriff's Office for allowing that, for them to not only to get out of the jail and to be productive and kind of clean some of the trash off our streets.
Well, listen, I mean, not for nothing, but it's only a jail, right? It's not a prison,
right?
So it's not like a chain gang, but most of these inmates, and I say inmates, I mean really they're jail mates.
Yeah.
They're not there for like a prison sentence, but even if they're just in lockdown for 60 days, or maybe their bail is set too high and nobody could afford to bail them out, even though it may just be a small charge. But you have a lot of people in there, and they don't want to be a full-time residents of four walls and chains and behind lock and key. They want some fresh air. Sure. And so I think it's a great service. They get the fresh air, we get a cleaner streets. Win-win.
Well, and I look at it this way too. First off, people can say what they want about it, but it's a volunteer.
Right.
People are not made to come out, and like you said, they want to get out. And we all been cooped up in our houses since COVID, and we're wanting to get out, and so do they. They want to get out, and it gives them the ability to get out and see the community and understand. Everything every day as we wake up, everything's a learning experience.
Right.
Whatever you do, you're learning, and that's them too. I mean, they're whether you're in jail or not, you're still part of the community, and part of rehabilitation. Come out and. I don't know how many times you've seen someone just throw a piece of garbage on the ground.
Right.
I mean, that bothers me more than anything. And at least these people can understand. And when you look around and go, look, I can be a part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Amen. Yeah, so, infrastructure. Certainly, we have some fun things still going on, like Babcock, that corridor, is first finished with the help of the county and I think in the city under the previous mayor's leadership, they were able to get that done and finally find a resolution. Now we're finishing that Babcock corridor. Again, older roads. These roads haven't been considered in probably 3 or 4 decades.
Right.
What's underneath them? Are the pipes crappy? Are things failing that need to be replaced, or do you just cover up with another layer of asphalt? So there's lots of things to consider, and people don't understand that, and that's what I'm trying to convey as well with these conversations. When you talk to political people, again, it's only a 4-year term. It takes between the permitting, which we're discussing, the growth, which we're discussing. So if we have a conversation today, we're like, hey, Paul, everybody's complaining about this corridor. We need to widen it up a lane or put in a median,
right.
So people can turn properly. How soon can we do it? Well, maybe if everybody works together, 6-7 years, because it's tough to, these widening projects or even extending a road. Not only do you have to get the votes, it has to be popular, it has to be feasible, it has to be, it has to go through all these studies, independent studies, third-party studies, and then where do we get the money? Then you got to raise taxes or include in another fiscal. And these budgets are only. I'm not sure about your office, but most times it's a yearly thing. You pass a budget, and that's what you have allocated for that year. So it's not as easy as there's a problem, let's fix it. There's several loopholes not loopholes, but obstacles and hurdles to leap over. Yeah.
Well, and I'll give you a good example. If you look at the budget, a lot of times, you're kind of forecasting out for the next few years that project,
Right.
and of course there's projects that that you have to accelerate, but it's also about funding. One of the things that I really wanted to bring in a couple of years ago was police body cameras.
Right.
I think that's very important to transparency. I think it helps the officer, and I think it helps the resident. So I think it's good because everybody else has videos. Why shouldn't the police have video? That's the way I've looked at it, and it's hopefully a non-doctored version. Well, will be a non-doctored version. But like that, I remember talking to my city manager, and she said, "Look, we are planning it would be January last month to get them, up and running January and February. But if we was to accelerate in the December meeting, we put on the agenda, we would have saved the city about $400,000.
Oh,
so and just something within the next few weeks. So I accelerated that on the last meeting of the year. Not only were we going to get it because it was coming down the pike, but we saved the city about $400,000 over the term of the agreement with the vendor. So it's something that time is money, and it's like it's a maneuvering act, because you have the lagoon, you have the streets, you have stormwater, you have. There's so many things going on, and you only have a certain pot of money.
Right.
And I mean, do you want to? It's a balancing act, and until you really get into it and see what it entails, and there's unions you have to negotiate. The police union, the fire union, the employee union. So there's groups everywhere that you have to work with, and hopefully my legacy as mayor will be that I've worked with everybody to work to make everybody inclusive in the city and be a part of the solution.
I really like that. I mean, because there are some administrations, like you said, that just kind of lay in the shadows. Don't stir, ruffle too many feathers, as they say. Maybe they have more political
aspirations.
Yeah, aspirations. That's a good word. So maybe they just want to do the job, and again, just as they would be expected to, just a status quo. Nothing too major, nothing too small. Just keep everybody kind of complacent, and then 3 or 4 years, then you have a feather in your cap, and then you go for more advancement, higher offices, and so forth. But I really like your kind of status with where you want to go, and I really like the your thoughts on what the office should be. Because I really think that the office should be something where we turn over the power so that we're able to have like those proper checks and balances. What needs to be done, what wasn't the previous person in office able to be done, and this goes for any office. Go get in there and take an inventory, audit, if you will, and say, okay, well, this was done properly. This needs to be revisited. This has been left on the table for a long time. This needs to be forward and actually addressed. So there's a lot of things that some people just don't want to deal with.
Right.
Litter. Homelessness. There's a lot of things that are going on. I know you're a big advocate for what we're going to be doing as far as addressing the homeless population, because it seems like we're finding more. Right? The more development that comes to town, we are clearing some of these areas, and we're finding big communities of camps and so forth for the homeless.
Well, back when I worked with the police department and I was a canine handler, we used to go in the wooded area and look for people with warrants, and you would go back there and there would be a homeless camp here or there, and as you're growing up, you're clearing, and like you said, you're really exposing that, but and then plus the weather. I mean, when you're one of the best places to live in my opinion, in the country, then people will come and you're attractive. So we have challenges there, and I'm going to be calling a special meeting. Probably I feel it's going to be in March, and this is something we've been working on for months now with the police chief, with the Daily Bread, with the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce. I mean, there's partners, Steadytown, and we want to come to the table with solutions, and because I really want to address the panhandling issue. Talking to a lot of business owners and such, I mean, they would like to see something done, and so would I, and I'm sure it's going to be very. It's going to be very, best way to put it out there, I wouldn't say combative, but it's going to be very talked about. I mean, controversial. Yeah, I would say it's definitely going to be controversial. Oh, it's definitely going to. It already is. It's controversial because everybody has their take, and I think it's when I talked about it during my election that I would do something. It's probably the number one topic by hands down, and which was surprising, but that's something that I'm going to try to take on, and we'll see how that goes. I'm confident that if we do it as a team,
right,
and the community is involved, and we educate the community on what to do, because at the end of the day, I look at it this way: if someone's out there and they're they're panhandling for money, we've already failed. That maybe they don't know of the social services, and as a veteran myself, are they a veteran with a mental disorder, or is there something? So, as a community, we have to step up and, help those who want to help themselves. And frankly, those that don't want help, and then we have to move a step forward.
Yeah, and I feel, I'm one of those that probably don't have the most popular opinion.
Yeah.
But, there are resources, so for me, I would love to see some of these people who return to the same corner.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to hold a sign. It's like, well, people pay people to hold signs.
Oh, yeah.
So are they really that unemployable, or do they just need direction, or are they just so out of sorts mentally because they have no other way of surviving?
Or it's easy money.
Or it's easy money, right? So, which is it? Because I know a lot of people who are refused. Like, hey, if you want a handout, go to the many churches, go to the many things, because there's a lot of there's more nonprofits registered here in the county than I think anywhere else in Florida. Like, we have so many nonprofits, and maybe that's just because we have a lot of beneficiaries, or maybe because of the industry and so forth. We just have a lot of ability to help, because there's a lot of big businesses, big industry, and they love to help out. Not only that, but it also reduces their taxable liability, and so there are incentives to help out.
Yeah.
But there are so many groups here that I know would love to be able to help. But again, if somebody is doesn't get along with others, you really can't have them in a group home. For some, because I've seen the moms with the kid out there.
Yeah, I look at it this way. I've gotten calls on that.
Right.
One of the things that I've done, ever since I've been in office, I put my personal cell phone number on the city website.
Right.
So people, because I want to be approachable.
Right.
And because of that, I've gotten a lot of phone calls.
Good.
and
it's
one
working.
of the things, definitely working. It's working too much. But anyway, I signed up for it, and that's why I'm here. But I've gotten calls on that where, people having their children out there. And I think there's a bigger issue there because, I grew up in a rough family, and, that's going to be mentally draining on the children because, that's not very, I don't think that's good for the child. So we have to do something and step in, and we're gonna respect people's First Amendment rights and people's freedom and liberties, but we also are going to live as a civilized society and a productive society. So
is there an ordinance already that prevents panhandling or makes it?
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people say, well, why don't you enforce the panhandling ordinance? There are ordinances. Melbourne, and I wasn't in office at the time, but they passed the only downtown Melbourne you can't do it. That was struck down as unconstitutional.
Oh.
A lot of meeting with my city attorney, a lot of this stuff is unconstitutional, and we have to step into the new phase and do it, in my opinion, in steps.
Right.
And it's got to be done in steps with the community partners. Just by saying you can't stand on our corners and have a sign. Well, what do you tell the fireman with a boot? You can't be on the corners. So there's a lot that goes into play on that. So I want it to be a transparent meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're going to have a special council meeting.
Right.
I'm going to encourage the public to come, and we're going to come. And I think people are going to understand that, I work with people, but I'll have a hard gavel. I'm not going to put up with nonsense. And just like I tell anybody, don't be littering my streets. And you throw litter in my streets, and then you're going to get a ticket. I directed my police chief, the other day, if an officer sees somebody littering, I want them ticketed because, that's just nonsense.
Oh, that's great to hear, because there are literally like posted signs. Fines for littering, and I never see anybody, it's like one of those things. It's like, we pass a law to make somebody feel good, but is it ever enforced? Or are we just passing laws just to pass laws, right? Because sometimes people just want to feel good. They want to be recognized, and they feel like the only way to feel like they're getting justice is for a law to be made, right? Yeah. So, but as far as littering, I'm in the same boat. Especially the small things. You see these things that once they leave that window, or somebody flicks out a cigarette butt or whatever else, these things are going directly to the lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not like a big piece of litter that doesn't, float or be blown around. Those plastic bags, they fly around. I see them in trees and bushes and everything else. No, it's enough to make you queasy. Because it's so preventable. Like, just keep it in your car. Lock down your lid to your garbage can. Little things that could just make a big difference. But yeah, certainly enforcing anti-littering laws, huge. Like, let's make that happen. Now, regarding the homeless, what do you think is a good step? Do you give them just what they need as far as like bare necessities and you take care of them forever, or do you have like a 12-step program, so to speak, something that you give them a little shelter, but they have to continue getting visited with an occupational therapist or someone to say, hey, what can where could we fit you in? Because everybody has a duty. Everybody, listen, if you could hold a sign, you can make $8 to $10 an hour. Like, there are things called sign holders, and I was actually considering hiring one of them. But I'm not sure, what that would look like as far as 1099 or whatever, so I don't really want that employee. I just want to throw them like, here's $20, hold my sign for a couple hours. Right. But somebody's gonna be like, well, now Jesse, you're encouraging them. I'm like, no, I gave them a job. They're hungry.
You gave them a job. Absolutely. Right. And what it looks like, we partner with Steadytown, and they're really up and coming, and they're doing a great job. And and they've even confirmed that it's a case by case management program.
Isn't it? Right.
Everybody's different, and I think what you have to do, you identify who they are, you find out what they need. Right. I think, and I have to get the exact numbers, and I can do that, but I think we've already credited for at least 24 people, getting them off the streets and helping them find jobs. And so the team is doing a really great work, and so it's a case by case basis. I do know there's a handful of people, and I kind of know them personally out there. They don't want jobs. They want you to give them money, and if you don't give them money, they're going to kick your car tire. Well, that ain't going to work in this city, I'm going to tell you. So again, you want to be compassionate, and I'm going to be compassionate because I've been. I was raised in a poor family, and we grew up poor, and I remember at times as a young kid that churches kind of bailed us out and dropped off food on our front porch because we didn't have food to eat, and I've come a long way being a business owner and stuff. So, but I remember where I came from, and a lot of people are down and out, and especially during this COVID time. Yeah. And that's why any of the federal funding that we've gotten from COVID, we focused on helping residents in need, and because at the end of the day, that's not only the right thing to do, but that's kind of what we're here for, is to serve. Exactly.
But and just because you brought it up, let's just touch on it. How is the unemployment rate here? Have we fallen off, or are we kind of steady?
And where I don't really go by that unemployment number, let me tell you why.
Sure.
What do you consider employed? If you have a part-time job, let's say you need 40 hours a week and you're only getting 30, you're employed. Or what if you're holding 2 jobs? So I think anybody has the ability to skew those numbers and statistics. And in COVID, is it a temporary job loss? So, and all jobs are different. I'm a firm believer that, a job at McDonald's, is not there to support a family.
Right.
Hopefully, if you're working at McDonald's, you want to, get to the point where you want to be the manager, or you want to run the store. You want to better yourself. Right. So, those numbers, again, if you throw out a number and you say 7.6%, I mean, it's like it's not like a football score where it's definite. It could be anything. So I know as government, if you can attract good paying jobs and be the next Silicon Valley for the space race and such, that will bring the community, bring them up even better. Because unfortunately, I'm going to call it like it is, and I'm that type of mayor. There's winners and there's losers. In any game you play or life, there's winners and there's losers. And it's our responsibility in government is to have our area be winners.
Right.
I mean, we're competing against 67. There's 67 counties. And you talk about, well, why do you need an EDC? because there's 66 other counties
right.
trying to get that big, company to come here
right.
and hire. So, it's all a balancing act, and you don't want to lose out because you weren't prepared.
Right. And that's another thing that some people kind of, I don't know if they may shrug at it or not approve, and that is the incentivizing of these big, companies. Well, they can afford it. They don't need a tax incentive. It's like, no, they're bringing 1,000 high-paying jobs. Well, what does that mean to us? Well, now you have 1,000 more people here spending their money here, and so the tax from just the employees is going to really boost us up. Restaurants are going to be busier, retailers are going to be busier, everything's going to be reaping the benefits of adding these jobs. But I don't get it. Why don't they? They're federal contractors. Department of Defense, right?
Right.
How come we need don't we give them enough money? There's a lot of people who don't understand the ins and outs of how do you attract business, without attracting revenue from them right away, because there are anytime you go to build anything, there's impact fees. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stress on the infrastructure,
absolutely.
on the population, and so forth. And so, I think when people hear that another company may be being attracted because we incentivize them with subsidies or tax credits or no tax at all for like 5 or 10 years, whatever that looks like. People don't understand that we're doing it because not that we don't need the revenue, but we really want those jobs. We really want those employees, to become part of our community and spend money here.
Sure, and it's got a trickle down effect.
Right.
For example, if you're a waiter or waitress and your job is you get tips. I mean, there's nothing better than someone coming in that tips you better because
right.
they can afford it. So it really the way they spend, the spending habits.
Right.
So. I agree, and most people, and I'd say almost,
mm-hmm.
and I'll almost say all, but pretty much all people don't understand all the details because to incentivize something, it's all different.
Right.
Because you may say, well, we're going to incentivize a company. What is that?
Right.
I mean, we don't really per se, give them cash. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And also in the city of Melbourne, companies come to us. And we won the bids, or they decide to come here, and they've said, look, we promise that we're going to create this many jobs and pay this much in taxes and this much in property taxes. I mean, they're paying a lot of money
right.
out, and they haven't lived up to that. And we pulled that. I mean, so they're under. There's nothing worse than being under the microscope of government.
Right.
And a lot of these businesses don't want that, but sometimes the numbers don't work.
Right.
At the end of the day, if they didn't have it, they'll go to somewhere that will give it to them. And again, I think it's a balancing act. It needs to be transparent. But, just to blindly yell out, well, you're giving them something. They're rich. Mm-hmm. They can afford. I can tell you right now, being in business, being in business, like people looking, oh, you're rich because you have, you own a business. That's not necessarily the case.
That's so far from the
case. And Jesse, you're rich. I mean, you got a studio here.
Yeah.
You're driving a Pinto.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you're not. But I'm just saying, most people, it's perception too. A lot
right.
of these businesses, they pay a lot in taxes. They say, well, you don't pay a lot in corporate taxes. Well, that depends. May not necessarily be the case because a lot of the companies that I know of, they pay their employees well. I mean, you're going to get rid of the money one way or the other, whether you give it to the government
Certainly.
or give it to your employees or you build up your infrastructure. So, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people don't understand that. I will thank the residents of Melbourne. They reapproved through the vote that we have the abatement ability. It was a great tool. It was endorsed by our chamber. We have a wonderful chamber, the group there, and they supported it. And it's something that at the end of the day, will we use it? Maybe not. But you got to have the tool in the toolbox to use it. And I think we can all look around and say where we are in Melbourne, a lot of us is doing better than a lot of people in other countries or cities. And
right.
We got a lot of challenges. We will always have challenges, but I think we're up for the task.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think we are in a good position. We have been. It seems like in the 20 years that I've been a full-time resident here, I've seen a lot of. It seems like everybody's been prepped for now this time, where we're a place that jobs are returning You know, there was not too far in our short history since the millennium there, we saw the NASA kind of getting a little bit challenged. You know, so I think it was 11 or 10 or 11 that was defunded, and we saw Titusville have to go through a lot of tough changes. You know, a lot of people just left. There were stories of just people just leaving their doors wide open with keys in it, like they had to go to greener pastures and find a new job. But now we're kind of going through a renaissance with a lot of private coming into the area, like the supersonic jet that affects us in the city of Melbourne specifically, but you also have the Blue Origins and SpaceX's and everybody else, and that's bringing a lot of technology. And I think we've been poised for this time, and I think now that it's here, I think we're handling it pretty well. Like you said, permitting. Can we get more and more places to support us? Because as flights become more and more often, because before. Let's be honest. Melbourne International wasn't a really big carrier. We had when Delta, it was a Delta connector that went to the hub in Atlanta, and so we weren't even really on the radar a whole lot. But now I think we're on the radar, and now we have more and more. We have a terminal, I think, being built. We're getting the flights from international cities now direct, which is huge, and we're starting to see some of people react. We're starting to see more things getting built. Even during COVID, we're seeing businesses expand, not contract, expanding because really our economy has been it's uncommon. It's not something that's happening really throughout the rest of Florida.
You're right.
We have our own little bubble going on right here. Not bubble in the bad sense, but meaning we're kind of in this protected dome of this renaissance happening, where a lot of people are coming into our area, and it's and I think it's just super exciting. Again, big gains in the airport. We're gaining international recognition with bringing other businesses like Embraer from Brazil. So we're really onto something, and it's exciting. And to further that. We also have, and let's talk about the art district of the O'Galley corridor there. Really fun place. A lot of fresh businesses. There's another bar. There's that little parcel right there on Pineapple Ave that had been vacant for a very long time.
Pineapples.
Yeah, so Pineapples is going up, and you're familiar with those developers. You have a relationship with them.
Yeah,
really,
yeah. I went to high school with one of the brothers. Yeah, I know the Youngs are good people. They've been around a long time. They're kind of old O'Galley like I am. So yeah, they as a kid I would frequent that. It was Bill's Bait and Tackle with my father, and Slug and Barb are wonderful people, and it's kind of evolved to now what it is. It was set empty forever,
right? And
now they're building that, and I think we're going to be seeing a change in O'Galley. To a really nice, fun place where you want to go. It's definitely it's definitely changing. I mean, the change is coming, and we want the right change. We want good jobs. We want a nice quality of living, somewhere where you can take your family, you can go out and spend the evening. So, we have the lagoon there, we have the beach, and so we have everything going on right here. We're not Orlando. I don't want to be Orlando, but we're not far away. We can visit. So. With that growth brings other challenges, and for us as council members and as mayor, we need to make sure that we have good affordable housing, because that's something that, the last thing, a lot of people, they're on fixed incomes, and we want to make sure we have great jobs, and we keep, again, we want the best of all worlds, and and again, so hopefully we can do that. And again, as a mayor, it's part of, I'm one person on a council, and I'm leading a great council. But I think once you get on, you realize everything that's going on there. Everything's moving at a rabbit's pace, and and you're a snail. So
well, you're coming into a very just an incredible time for the city. We gained another exit to 95. The one before that, I think, was Pineda in this county, and that was 15 something years ago or whatever else. And then all of a sudden, in 3 years, We get the Miko exit down in South County. We get the middle exit here at Ellis.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we have the north towards the middle of the county with Vieira Boulevard. So now we got 3 exits more. I mean, we haven't seen 3 exits added, but in the last like 30 years, right? And so now all of a sudden we have like 3 more in like 18 months or something. It just seems everything's been happening so fast. And with that growth, I mean, now we're in an era where we're going to see Melbourne do things in the next 4 to 5 years that it's been trying to do in 15 years, previous to that, because of the hiccups with losing NASA, and before that, the economic kind of downturn, when the subprime mortgage market went to, all hell broke loose, and we all remember those times.
Remember that,
between 6 and 09, and it's almost like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I feel so close to where, I mean, even COVID isn't slowing us down. We are still moving. More and more people are buying new construction. There's a wait list for the permits. I know the Palm Bay permit office for any kind of clearing of property or anything else. I mean, people want to build homes. We're really in a deficit for having not just affordable homes, because the median home price has been increasing steadily, 4, 5, 6%, and that's a modest growth. I mean, there's some areas that are 10, 12% because of where it's situated and what kind of property it is, right? So we're seeing all this growth. We're seeing a lot of people coming in. We're trying to keep up with the permitting, as you mentioned, and get as many homes as possible, because people aren't, there are some people selling, but not the shelf life that we're used to. Normally we had 6 months of inventory. Now we have like 20 days of inventory. Like it's like nothing's lasting. So getting back and coming full circle, we're seeing that this is unprecedented at times.
Right.
There's so many people coming in. We can't even keep up with creating houses. The cities are also struggling to make sure all these builders are getting the permits needed and making sure nobody's building without a permit or with a sub-sound structure. We want to make sure everybody's up to compliance and so forth. But you have the whole O'Galley corridor from all the way towards the exit there on 95. A lot of things being cleared out. We're starting to see even Hibiscus and other parts of the county. More and more apartments coming in. You see Wickham. I think Wickham Road has probably like 6 different apartment communities all going up at the same time. I mean, what a time to be a mayor. I mean, we're seeing so much growth. One of the topics that a lot of people mention out, since now I have you in front of me, is when is Vieira going to have their own zip code? Are they always going to be 32940? And you may not have a whole lot of answers for that one, but
I have an answer. I don't know if people want to hear it.
Right.
I think Vieira is a really nice place, and I think Vieira, the people in Vieira like it is the way it is. I think that because you got to think they have the county government, and any time that if Vieira was to incorporate, then there'd be a lot of loss of services to the county.
Sure.
The sheriff's office. I mean, that's. So they have their own city, but it's actually the county.
Right.
So I don't know if that will ever. That would be that'd be interesting to see if that ever happens. Because I mean, you go out there and it's grown up. And I remember when I went to work for Brevard County Road and Bridge back in '89. I remember going out to process at the new Brevard County complex, the one that's out there today.
Right.
And there was nothing but a road, and there was like deer, and and we were all thinking, why would they put this out? There's nothing here, and it was a master plan, because now the mall, there was nothing there, and it was like, oh, someone gave them property or gave them reduced property. Somebody really wasted their time. Now look at them now. They're like, they're laughing now, and but it's definitely it's master planning, and that's what we have to do as a city, is master plan.
Right.
Because I look too, and one thing that has got to be brought up. There are a lot of people coming here from other states. Why is that? High taxes.
Right.
High crime. I mean, and government kind of, in my opinion, out of control.
Right.
And that's one of the number one things. Oh, the way you handle yourself. Well, where I'm from, that mayor won't even talk to you. I'm like, well, That's not that's y'all's fault. Y'all shouldn't have elected them, or that's not how that's how
Sure.
we want the hometown feel. But what we also want, we want everybody to have great jobs, and we want everybody to be able to support their family, and and really enjoy life for what it should be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The quality of life still continues to be one of the best I've ever. I mean, I lived all over Florida at periods of time, but I came up here, and in '95. As soon as I graduated, I was 17, and I came up here and I went. I guess I was peer pressured because all my other buddies, everybody kind of went their own ways for college. Then everybody went right back to South Florida, and I was like, okay, I'll go try it back down there, and I did. I had some good times, but then moved over to the West Coast towards Sanibel, Fort Myers, lived over there, and then but I always found myself back over here, and still visiting, and then finally in '05 I relocated permanently, and I've been here ever since. But in those times, in those years, it's always been affordable. I've always been able to come, get a nice place, quality place, even though we have very little crime here compared to other bigger metropolises and so forth. Now, we do have some high crime areas, but I mean that happens, wherever you're at. But beyond that, it's very safe, very affordable, for somebody to have a young family or something, you'd still live here and have a really good quality of life without paying such a premium like Orlando or Miami, Fort Lauderdale areas or other big areas. So that's what I've always found. Like Melbourne has always stayed as kind of a refuge for people to come from not only other states that, Florida's, I wouldn't say like a rich state, but it's kind of rich. I mean, I know friends who are in Tennessee and they just can't afford to move because they're and they live in a very nice home, $80,000, but they really couldn't sell that and then come down here and get something affordable. Same thing on the other end. I sold helped some friends sell their house in Rockledge, little Rockledge home, and now they have a big like it's like a monstrosity. It's like a castle in Georgia because again, when you go to other places, that your money affords a lot more, right? So I know for some people coming here, they may feel a little bit of a pinch, but I know for some people, like for instance, coming from New York or California or some bigger places, well, they're able to sell one home in New York and buy two down here. For a lot of people, it's a refuge. It's not only a refuge from government, but it's also a refuge from taxes, crime, and so much more. So totally get that, and I love that about Melbourne. I love that you come back after 20 years, and up until like 5 or 6 years ago, nothing really changed. But now there's a lot of things changing. The skyline's changing, everything's changing, a lot of things being built, and I just love it. What else is coming up in the pipe? You were mentioning something like a big project in Eau Gallie.
Well, we're looking possibly that there's going to be a downtown hotel in Eau Gallie. That's going to be I think it'll be an interesting project. As well as it would give us solve our parking issues. We've always had parking issues at downtown Eau Gallie, and when I first got on council, it was floating around. Well, the way you fix the parking issues is you just make the parking spaces smaller, and I'm like, well, that don't really great, but that doesn't really work. But that project should come before us, and that's something that the council will decide. And I really think it's going to be an amazing project. It will kind of redefine Eau Gallie. I'm a firm believer as being I don't know how long it's been since there's been an Eau Gallie mayor, and I don't mean to say that wrong. I'm the mayor from Melbourne, but going to Eau Gallie High School, it's always the joke in Eau Gallie was, well, we're the stepchild and stepchildren, and so I'm definitely going to make sure Eau Gallie gets its attention. The Arts District is amazing. We made a lot of changes since I've been on council for 4 years. Before, when I remember I first got on there, it was a violation. Intercoastal Brewery had a violation because they had a truck cart,
the food
cart,
truck,
and that was a violation of Melbourne code, and that's something I got to change. And now they're going to be doing it in downtown Melbourne. It just came before us. There's going to be a business that does that concept. And then of course the murals. I remember when I first got on council, murals weren't allowed, and they were. As to when Ches Kwan, I think they're the grandfather, and all that changed.
And it was such a nice piece of art too.
I own property on Aurora. I thought it was amazing. I'm like and then they had to paint over it, and it just kind of made me angry. And I'm like, I hate government, so I'm going to run and change it. So,
well, now you brought that up, I'm going to put you on the spot because there is a neighbor business that the city made them cover their mural because it was different color, I guess, than what was approved. I'm talking about Apocalypse. You probably don't know anything about this, but probably with like your zoning board or something. But I was looking to see if we could expedite their approval, because again they got approval for a mural, but they use colors instead of white or something.
Okay, that just came before us, not them per se,
right,
but that code, and we actually just adjusted it.
Okay.
Because before you'd have to paint over it,
right.
So we added the language in there that you would just have to temporarily cover it with like plastic or something.
Yeah, that's what they did, right?
Yeah, and we changed that because it was just, it may have been them, but
okay.
I mean, the agenda package could be
right.
500 pages, but
sure.
we brought that in saying, look, I believe like an artist, and I can't draw a straight line with
sure.
a ruler, so I'm not an artist. But an artist, what they put on paper and what they may put on a wall may
sure.
change. They're fluid people, and they can make they make magic out of nothing. So
right.
You really can't say, well, the paper it has to be exactly than what's on the wall,
right?
Because I can't draw two straight lines. So
mm-hmm.
We're trying to make it easier,
right.
and I think that's working, because I think the group that came before us,
mm-hmm.
They got that worked out.
Good.
So we're working on language that very friendly, business friendly, and so again, so you just don't have to paint over it and ruin all that work and money and time.
That makes no sense.
So that's already been addressed,
right.
and it probably, I think that happened around. Was I mayor yet? I think around November. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Well, the Arts District, of course, by nature, is going to have plenty of murals. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites was already like painted over, which kind of broke a lot of the community's heart. But
which one was that?
Private owners. That was the dentist.
Yes. It was
right by the pie company.
People were like, "Why did you?" We had nothing to do with it.
No, and they all figured, well, it was the building's owner, and the building's owner can say, yes, paint on my wall, but they could also say, well, to another contractor, well, paint my wall solid.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't know what happened there. I mean, if you walk around O'Galley, there's this one big art piece after another, which is, I think, so unique.
Mm-hmm.
Have this hotel coming in right across the street from a lot of the galleries and museums.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be huge. Of course, adding parking is always a good concession. When somebody says, I want to build a hotel, like, great, where are your guests going to park?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to park in my garage. Great. Well, where the people that used to park where your building is, where are they going to park? Oh, well, so now it's like, well, now you have to,
right.
to give us something, so you're taking 80 spots, you have to kind of give us. I mean, it's same kind of concession that Hotel Melby had to agree to. So little stuff like that, I think, those can happen. And I love the O'Galley district, now with pineapples being added. And next is Coastal, since you brought them up, they're also doing a big expansion,
mm-hmm.
So
yep.
they started with one building. They got the neighbor building for their now big old brewery, like massive production, massive distribution. They're canning, they're doing everything.
Awesome.
And now they're doing so much of distribution, they have to expand, and that's happening. That's being erected right now. So I mean, before you know, we're gonna have a couple rooftop places already, and then the hotel's supposed to have a rooftop bar and pool.
Yeah,
so.
And I will tell you, I've seen the artist renditions and the stuff for the O'Galley Hotel,
right.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm blown away, because this is not a hotel. This is something that the Mr. Jarnes, Larry Jarnes, he really wants. This is kind of his baby, and
cool.
And I almost kind of sat back and I thought as a contractor, because I'm a licensed contractor, and I sat back. Why would he put so much detail in it? Because it's his baby, and it's something that he lives in that area.
Right.
And think about it. Most people they build in another city. I mean, he lives like within walking distance. And,
exactly.
And I mean, just to see some of the stuff, the art, and he wants to put all the arts from the Fusner in it. He wants to be an art hotel. He really wants to expand the art.
That's a great concept.
And I tell you, I'm just blown away by how much they care and how much they really want to do something nice. And I think my opinion, it'd be probably one of the nicest hotels in Central Florida. It's Central Florida, even Orlando. I mean, it's going to be an amazing place. And so we'll see how that turns out. It's going to, they're talking about, I think it's a 6-story parking garage.
Wow. Okay.
So, to kind of solve our parking issues. And we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
On this episode, we'll go ahead and end with that. I'm going to go ahead and cue up some music. Is there anything else that you need to address?
Well, no. The only thing I say is, hey, I'm always available. I'm always available to you, and I enjoy our conversations. And I'll be back, and we're going to have more issues. I mean, this is not a one show and done. This is something that, as often as you need me or you call me, and we have great conversations, and I'm here. So there's going to be challenges, and it's something you got to work on every day because. Either you go up or you go down, and we have to make that decision. And we'll do that together.
I love it. Well, Paul, this is your unofficial mayor studio. Okay. You're always welcome to come in. If you want to do this on a monthly basis, that'd be great. We're beginning on Feb 2, so maybe we'll do the beginning of every month.
I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate you helping me do my hair today before the show.
Yes, that's right. The hair and makeup staff are incredible.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
So once again, thank you all for tuning in. This is Jesse with Business Elite Brevard Edition. Thank you so much for, again, watching this episode. This was Melbourne Mayor Paul Alfrey, and we were discussing what 2021 is going to look like. From all of us here at Space Coast Podcast Studios, thanks so much. Have a beautiful February. Happy Groundhog's Day.
Yes.
And and we'll be seeing everybody, of course, later on. More episodes to come, so make sure you continue to stay tuned. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll continue bringing insightful conversations to you. And we're signing off. Take care, guys.